with you. First, how do you see Rishi Sunak now taking the reins of United Kingdom? There is no mincing of words or denying the fact that this has been a phase of extreme instability, not just for the party, but for the country at large, because you've had leaders change at very short intervals. The last one, Liz Truss, being the Prime Minister just about 44 to 45 days. Do you see Rishi Sunak having it in him to take United Kingdom out of this mess?
Thank you for having me. I think there are a couple of aspects here that we need to put Rishi's elevation into perspective. First, that apart from being the leader of the Tory party, Rishi Sunak also has perhaps the best support of MPs in the most recent time, to the extent that he forced Boris Johnson to drop out from the race. He also made sure that, or the support was so overwhelming for him that Penny Mordaunt could not get enough number of backers for her bid to the leadership. So in the United Kingdom, it is not merely that you become Prime Minister. The most important part is that you have to push legislation through the House of Commons, where you require maximum support from MPs. Now, this kind of overwhelming support that Rishi brings to the table, it would be a great thing for the economic stability that the United Kingdom so desperately needs. So that is perhaps the most important aspect of his elevation. Second, he has been a stable hand as the Chancellor, so he understands Britain's finances very well. He is himself an equity banker, so he understands how the economics work. And he also has fair exposure to domestic policies as well. So with all these pluses on his side, I think Rishi is slated to give the necessary stability that Britain needs at this stage after a lot of tortuous journey in the recent past.
Okay. Before I bring in Dr. Monica in the conversation as well, I want to quickly go back to my colleague Sanjay Suri, who continues to bring us those developments happening on the ground in London. Sanjay, how soon before we see those visuals of Rishi Sunak being driven into Buckingham Palace, and what is the kind of itinerary that will follow from there on?
Well, we should see that very soon after Liz Truss has been. The next step now is for Liz Truss to drive to Buckingham Palace, and that follows the simple logic that she will have to go and resign, and that will be the end of her government. And it is after that that we will see Rishi Sunak being driven to Buckingham Palace. So we're going to be watching Liz Truss headed towards the palace anytime now. And following that, the completion of that part of the ceremony or the official handover of government to Rishi Sunak to follow, this will all be happening at Buckingham Palace. This is a very old tradition. So first Liz Truss and then Rishi Sunak.
Okay. Sanjay, we'll continue to come back to you as and when we see some movement on the ground or when we see those visuals coming in. But Dr. Monica, let me bring you in. When you've had a leader, who's just stepped down in a span of 45 days, many critics will say the person who's taken over has already lost the challenge because he's coming in at a time which is extremely difficult for any ordinary person. The instability as far as the economy is concerned, the inflation, the right of resentment on the ground. How tough is it going to be for Rishi Sunak to put things in order?
I think to put it in perspective, it's going to be the toughest job in today's world, as difficult as it's possible. And most of it, I won't say that all of it is because of Britain's own doing. But if we look at what's happening in the international environment right now, every currency having a free fall. Sure. And in fact, in India also, we constantly are looking at debates regarding rupee's free fall. But in comparison to other currencies, while rupee has been able to hold on its own, pound has seen the sharpest fall at around, I think, 35% of its original value since the entire Ukraine-Russia war began and since United States started tightening its fiscal policies. So I think the job is tough, but I don't think it's only tough for Rishi Sunak. It has been a long time, a very, very difficult, last decade for United Kingdom, so to say, because after the 2008 financial crisis, United Kingdom hasn't really recovered. We've seen all kinds of problems. We've seen such frequent, changes in the government. But we need to also look at what happened after the financial crisis. So the entire Brexit vote the sentiment among people of Britain that they did not want to stay with the European Union, but they
Sure.
wanted to get out and take care of their own destiny, take their own decisions. It's something which was reflective of the fact that the sun is finally setting on the empire. So we are not going to look at United Kingdom in the same light as we used to do, but it's going to be a very difficult journey ahead for UK to stay relevant with the entire Indo-Pacific concept coming into being. We see all the other great powers, whether it's India or it's United States or Australia or Japan. But what about United Kingdom? It's literally struggling for relevance. And these crises, first the 2000 financial crisis, then the Brexit vote, and then the pandemic, and now the Ukraine-Russia war. I think UK needs to set its house in order, and the most difficult job, like I said at the outset, is something that Rishi Sunak has right now.
True. Chirayu, I want to talk to you in specific as far as the decisions that we've seen by leaders of the United Kingdom in the past, which possibly many would say have led to their downfall. For example, the decision that was taken on taxing the richest of the lot by Liz Truss, which of course didn't go down too well. There was a lot of growing resentment. But that's not the only challenge. What about the resentment within your own party? This was a challenge for Boris Johnson also, a challenge for Liz Truss also. How does Rishi Sunak find that balance of having support of people that are his own, but also trying to maybe undo these decisions and gain some support on the ground?
So that's a great question, and I think the part answer to is that Rishi has not been controversial compared to the other players. Initially, when Liz Truss proposed her fiscal plans, they were not supported by her party itself.
Yeah.
And now everyone has seen what a disaster those plans were, and that fairly made others rally behind Rishi. So now Rishi comes with a strong backing. Second, Rishi is not controversial like Boris on so many other issues. That makes him a stable, compromised, moderate candidate around whom others can coalesce and converge. So that is a pro side of Rishi. The second part is that now the Tories are getting tired of internal factionalism.
Yeah.
So that will also drive them close to each other. They have tried factionalism, but it has not helped them. In fact, if you see the latest poll, the Liberals are having currently a 19% lead over the Conservatives. This has never happened in the recent history. So they are realizing that if they don't work together on delivering the policies, on delivering the promises, and most importantly, they had taken a huge bet with Brexit. Now, the Brexit is not in the place currently and correctly as they had hoped for. So, for that also, they need to come together. And this internal factionalism, I remind you, doesn't start with post-COVID or the Boris era. It was during the Theresa May. Theresa May proposed a certain solution to the Brexit situation, what she called as a soft deal, and it didn't work. The Boris faction was not willing to give them support. People like Jacob Rees-Mogg were entirely against it, and they led a very huge faction. But now people are tired of being patient with the Tories, and now they want some stable deliveries in such a way that the cost of living goes down in the UK.
Sure.
And also for their international relevance, it is important that Tories now end their internal factionalism. And in Rishi, they find a really serious candidate who is non-controversial, who is stable, who is a stable hand at the tiller, as they call it in the UK. And therefore, I think they would go along with him, and it would be a huge plus as he would be able to push the legislations necessary to give economic stability to Britain.
True. At a time when